Bago tayo mag-umpisa, baka pwede nyong i-like ang video na to. Malaking bagay ang like sa aming mga content creators. Maraming salamat po.
Pieces of evidence are clear and the grounds for impeachment against BBM are not fabricated. These are blatant violations or culpable violations to the Constitution which would constitute betrayal of public trust. Why? Number one example is them surrendering Tatay Digong to The Hague. And this is where the contributions of Imee Marcos are needed. Because Imee Marcos is the current chairperson of the Committee on Foreign Relations sa Senate. And she is the one who investigated the conspiracy and the executions that have taken place when PRRD was brought to The Hague or was legally or unlawfully arrested by the ICC. Again, that's a classic example of that's a classic ground for impeaching a president, guys, because it's a sovereignty issue na. So it's a culpable violation to the Constitution. So ganito din, guys, kaya na-appreciate, kaya I promoted Imee recently. It's because, guys, the laws and the constitutional provisions that she mentioned are really the basis for BBM to be kicked out from Malacanang. Marami from sugar importation, may ano na. And you remember one time when VP Sara had her press conference, di ba sinabi niya, I have 5 impeachable offenses on my hand that BBM has committed. It's just so happened, guys, na we don't have the numbers in the House of Representatives yet. That's why if we file that, if we, for example, ako as a citizen, if I'll stand by VP Sara to file that, tapos to get it endorsed by a certain lawmaker, it would be hard because I won't get the vote of our congressmen, of our representatives. Walang vote yan. Pero ngayon nga, guys, nag-shuffle na yan sa House of Representatives. So there's a big chance for us to push through with BBM's impeachment. So 2 tracks, either BBM by delicadeza would resign from his position because wala naman talaga siyang ginagawa. He's not acting like the president. He's acting like, you know, the utusan ng president, parang ganyan. And second is impeachment talaga. Dapat mapaalis natin siya, matanggal natin siya. And now, guys, it's very, very possible. Kaya nga, use your voice, huwag kayong matakot. Pag may nakita kayong mga anomalies, pag may nakita kayong mga controversies, magsalita kayo because that would help us out. If there is clamor coming from the people, guys, from the Filipinos, makikita yan. Diba? Tapos pag makikita yan, na ganito pala talaga ang gusto ng Filipino masses, hindi niya matatapos yung termino niya. And it would be a very, very good point for us.
Ay tila siyang karma naman ang humahagupit sa mga politikong gustong ma-impeach siyang kasalukuyang vice presidente na siyang sobrang minahal ng taong bayan. Sila lang naman ang mga nagkaisang tila gustong mapatalsik sa kanyang pwesto, si Vice President Sara Duterte. Pero ngayong natapos na ang midterm election ay natalo sila. Mukhang ito na nga raw ang karma na ganti ng isang api. Ito di umano ang mapapala ninyo kapag binangga ninyo ang mga Duterte, lalong-lalo na ang Vice President na si Sara Duterte. Marami sa kanila ay natalo, kaya goodbye na kayo ngayon sa inyong mga posisyon sa gobyerno. Mukhang talagang dito na natin mapapatunayan, mga kababayan, na talagang mahal at gusto ng taong bayan ng mga Duterte, at dito natin mapapatunayan na Vice President Sara Duterte still matters. Pero bago ang lahat, kung bago ka pa lamang sa aming channel, please huwag kalimutang mag-like, subscribe at i-click ang notification bell para mas maging updated ka pa lalo sa lahat pa ng bagong video na i-upload namin. At ito na nga, mga kababayan, tila nagkatotoo na nga ang sinabi ni Vice President Sara Duterte na ang gaba di jud magsaba matapos di umano matalo ang ilan sa mga kritiko ni Vice President Sara Duterte sa midterm election. Mukhang ito na nga raw ang karma at ganti ng isang api. Ayon pa sa kumpirmadong post ng Sole Duterte supporter na si Tio Moreno sa kanyang post online sa kanyang Facebook account, VP Sara still matters. In my previous analysis, I made one thing clear. Vice President Inday Sara Duterte's political base was never loose. It's only needed to be awakened. And when she moved decisively. She ate and left no crumbs. The power struggle within Bongbong Marcos administration unleashed two calculated offensives against her. First, the impeachment track aimed to disqualifying her permanently. Second, the resignation track designed to force her out through relentless persecution. But they underestimated her. VP Sara did not flinch, retreat, or break. Instead, she weaponized these very attacks to fortify her position for the bigger war, the 2028 presidential election. Her strategy has been nothing short of masterful. In Manila, her quiet alliance with Isko Moreno secured a foothold. In Cebu, she bided her time before endorsing Pambari 4, carefully measuring Gwen Garcia's leanings. In Davao, when the Marcos Araneta Romualdez Mar union tried to encroach, she countered swiftly by backing her father's return to power, locking the city firmly under Duterte control. Today, VP Sara commands influence over country's three most vote-rich areas.
Final na ang results nga gipakita sa COMELEC kanina, and I posted already the votes, the tally na nagaling sa COMELEC. So yun na yung ano natin, yun na yung top 12 natin. So one of the arguments kasi na nakikita ko ngayon is ano ang mangyayari daw sa Senate, kasi si Angara, if I'm not mistaken, siya yung umalis siya sa pwesto niya sa Senate, tapos naging ano siya ngayon, Department of Education Secretary, tama, di ba? So hindi, kailangan ata, if I'm not mistaken ha, correct me if I'm wrong, I think hindi pwede iakyat ang top 13 just to fill in the vacancy sa Senate. It needs a special election, if I'm not mistaken, on that aspect. Tapos yun, so for the meantime, the Senate can operate or can function even if lack of one ano sila, or may vacant na ano. Yeah, if my memory still serves me right, yan yung ano. So hindi dapat ma-worry guys na aakyat si Ben Tulfo para ma-complete lang yung sa loob ng ano, sa yung seat sa Senate. Well, anyway, thank you on behalf of the Duterte family guys. I'd like to say thank you for all your support. Grabe, overwhelming. It shows na we really have the number. We have the supporters, real supporters. We have the warm bodies during elections. So nakikita natin yan, and it also shows that the Duterte magic, the Duterte magic is still there. Okay, so one big example actually is yung sa gubernatorial election sa Cebu. So as you can see, Gwen Garcia is very powerful, di ba? Marami siyang mga unions, mga alliances dyan eh. One Cebu, tapos she endorse the Alyansa para sa Bagong Pilipinas, tapos naging siya, as leaker siya ni Bongbong Marcos, ni Martin Romualdez, tapos she turned her back against the Dutertes. So anong nangyari, pinakita ng mga taga Cebu na the Duterte magic is still there, it's still alive, it just need to be it needs to be awakened lang. So, yon ang election ang nagpagising sa lahat ng mga DDS, lahat ng mga Duterte supporters sa Cebu. Kaya yan tuloy, with a very limited machinery, Pambari 4 won the governor seat sa Cebu. And ngayon, wala na si Gwen. Tapos funny, because first, pinapabayad si Gwen ng HSBC sa personal na utang niya. I forgot the number. Millions din yon. Defiant siya. Next issue sa kanya ay yung order ng suspension order ng ombudsman. Defiant siya, nagpatulong pa kay BBM, nagpagawa pa ng statement, kumuha pa ng mga statement of support coming from different groups, ganyan, walang effect. And now, yung election na naman, kitang-kita naman ang ng agwat nila ni Pambari 4. But then again, Gwen gusto niya na hindi niya matanggap ang na natalo siya ni Pambari 4 kasi nga Gwen, she thinks na she's very powerful. What she failed to realize is the fact na during elections, it's not the politician. During elections, it's all about the people. It's about the voters. So yun, pinakita ng taga Cebu, ng Cebu province na Duterte talaga yung Duterte talaga yung sinusupport nila. Kitang-kita din naman natin 'yan sa votes na nakuha ng mga PDP laban senatorial balls dahil ang top 5 ata is nasa PDP. Even sa Mindanao, nasa PDP ang top 5. So, we have the numbers na Cebu Province, Cebu City, we have a vote-rich, vote-rich city. We have Davao, we have Manila with Mayor Isko Moreno. Kaso sa Manila, medyo ganyan yung numbers. Parang kasi pumapasok si Bam, pumapasok din si Kiko. Pero Bongo pa rin yung nangunguna. So, ito yung masasabi ko guys na maliwanag na ang sa 2028. Ang dapat lang nating tupagin ngayon or yung iprayo natin is our support to VP Sara when it comes to her impeachment case. Kaya ngayon naghanap sila ng paraan na mabuo yung prosecution team ng House of Representatives. So ito si Tambi tumawag na kay Laila, tumawag na kay Chel Jokno to be part of the prosecution team. Unfortunately, kasi pa-epal So yun, na find out na si Laila de Lima pala sorry, yung acquittal niya sa ni-reverse pala ng Court of Appeals. So ni-remand yung case sa RTC kasi there is grave abuse of discretion amounting to excess or to lack or excess of jurisdiction. So yan yung sinabi ng Court of Appeals kanina. Basa muna ako ng comment. Gwen is a loser. Yeah. Ang perfume lang sa luyubos. Maklaro di ako perfume. Ay, klaro di akong perfume. Eyeglasses lang ako Hello. Madali. Mag-manual recount on that sir kay murag na adjud lagi. So, yeah. So, speaking of manual recount, ay parang somehow ako contented man ako sa results sa election. Pero ang hindi ko maintindihan because most of the Duterte supporters kasi nag-block voting tayo, nag-vote straight tayo. So, if we look at the bigger picture, if Bongo was able to get 27 million of votes, so dapat sana yung members ng PDP Laban dapat nasa 20, 22, 20, 19, 18, parang ganyan. Pero sobrang layo So 27 si Bongo, 20 si Bato de la Rosa, tapos followed by Marcoleta around 15 million. Then Jimmy Bondoc 10 million ganyan. So may kung nag-black vote tayo, 'di ba? We can ask the COMELEC bakit naging ganun yung results na nag-black vote naman tayo. I don't know if ano yung ginagawa ng PDP Laban ngayon. But if I may suggest, dapat i-question nila 'yan. Pero for me lang personally, I have nothing against those people who voted for the PDP Laban. Ang sa akin lang is kontento ako sa result. Kasi it would be a revelation kung ano talaga yung priorities ni Bam Aquino and ni Kiko Pangilinan. Now that they are able to be part of the top 12 sa Senate, ano ba talaga? Are they going to fulfill their promises na gagawa sila ng mga legislations para sa mga farmers, para sa mga students, ganyan? Or ang uunahin nila ang impeachment case ni VP Sara? Because if that is the case, ma-judge natin sila, ma-assess natin sila kung ano ba, are they just parang, parang yung mga campaign nila, sorry, sobrang nabusog ako guys, hindi ako makapag-isip. Parang yung campaign platform nila is just a platform and they don't wanna do it kasi nakaprayo nakaprayo yung impeachment of VP Sara. Pero yun nga, it would reveal them. Sana, hello dong. Okay. What else ba? So speaking of Dilima, so kanina I mentioned about Dilima, 'di ba? So ang sinasabi ng mga ang sinasabi ng mga supporters nila is wala naman daw hindi naman daw sinabi ng there is no discussion daw ng Court of Appeal sa merit of the case. True naman, tama naman 'yun. It's because wala naman talaga dapat ng discussion. Kasi yung petition is petition for Rule 65, if I'm not mistaken, petition for certiorari. Tapos ang naging nila is yung grave abuse of discretion nga. Tapos when we talk about grave abuse of discretion, guys, it talks parang under the law, para bang capricious, whimsical, yan yung parang definition nila, capricious, whimsical, and may arbitrary yung naging decision ng isang judge. So pwede siyang i-question ng court. So ang ibig po sabihin ng grave abuse of discretion is hindi na follow yung mga legal and factual, parang there is no legal and factual basis sa decision ng judge. So dapat ang titingnan natin ngayon, ano ba ang naging decision ng judge? So ang sinabi lang doon sa reversal ng Court of Appeals is yung sa recantation identification daw ng witness, ganyan, hindi daw na-mention. So, pinapabalik lang daw ng Court of Appeals para explain daw ng judge yung judgment niya. Pero ang hindi nila naintindihan is ang fact na may grave abuse of discretion nga. So there is no factual or legal basis sa ginawa na daw ng judge. Yan yung allegation. Yun yung issues na ni-raise ng Court of Appeals. Now, if ma-find out natin, if the judge cannot parang defend himself about the decision he made, so dun siya i-judge ng Court of Appeals na mali pala talaga yung decision mo. Now, when the Court of Appeals finds out na the decision is really, there is grave abuse of discretion on that matter, so wala. Hindi ma-acquit si Laila de Lima. That means to say na mag-continue yung kaso niya. Yan yung point. Tapos walang nagdi-discuss ng mga lawyers sa kanila sa aspect na yan because maybe they wanted to control the narrative about Laila de Lima. Pero yan yun, guys. So although sige, pagbigyan natin, okay, let's give it to them na it's a procedural lapse lang. Pero the point is, pag na-find out na mali ngayon, 'di ba? So maku-question yung validity ng acquittal ni De Lima. So yan yung main point doon. Ito yung sinasabi ko. So may nag-comment from Jerry Mandin, grave abuse of discretion is when a public official or body acts in capricious, whimsical, and arbitrary manner. So yan yung sinabi ko kanina. And that amounts to an evasion of positive duty or a virtual refusal to perform a duty enjoined by law. It is more than just a simple error in judgment. It involves a blatant disregard for legal standard or established procedures. Yan nga yung point ko because dapat ang makikita nga natin in order for us to assess whether or not there is grave abuse of discretion talaga is makikita natin yung entire decision ng judge about sa case ni De Lima. Because pag makita natin doon tapos na find out natin na okay, tama pala ang Court of Appeals na wala pala talagang legal and factual basis yung pinagsasabi ng judge dito. So, meaning null and void ang acquittal ni Laila de Lima. Meaning, pwede siyang makulong. Pwede siyang makulong because null and void. Meaning to say, hindi siya acquitted to begin with. Right? So, here. Sir, favor naman pakisagot ragod si Jam Magno. Unsa naman po na si Jam? Basa mo na ako. Okay. Naunsa ang habeas corpus ni Katie? There is no update yet from the Supreme Court, guys. Yan din yung question ko bakit wala pa? Tapos speaking of the Supreme Court, supposedly, yung yung oral argument ng whether or not the General Appropriations Act is constitutional, dapat sana May 19. So, na ba ngayon? 15? So, we have 4 days na lang sana. 16 bukas. So, 3 days na sana. Dapat may oral arguments na sa GAA. Pero pinuspone na naman ng Supreme Court. Hindi ko alam kung ano talaga yung purpose nila. I'm excited sana ako na mangyayari na siya on the 19th. Why? Because talo na si Stella Kimbo. One of the people na pinatawag ng Supreme Court is si Stella Kimbo. So dapat makita natin ba if magaling talaga si Stella Kimbo, if she's not hiding behind the power of Martin Romualdez, kung matalino talaga siya, of course she can defend herself before the Supreme Court. Pero pag nagmamagaling lang siya, so possibly makukulong din siya, di ba? Graft and corruption. Basta ako, Sir Tio. Saan ang bilis mag-ana ang comment, Hindi lang, ha? I came across this post sa Campus Jorn, Sir Tio. Tapos, sana yun? Kung sa imuhang thought, send na ako sa PM kay dili ka comment og screenshot. Is this still journalism? Okay, later. Ang lobat yung isang phone ko, hindi ko mabasa. Basta ako, sir, gusto ko makita si Bam nang hihirapan ng desisyon sa harap-harapan ba niya tatraido rin ang kakamping or tatraido rin ang pag-endorse. Okay, speaking of Bam, guys, ganito daw, allegedly this information does not come from me. Allegedly, ang reason as to why the INC endorsed him, it's because anti-impeachment daw si Bam. So, alphabetical yan. If I'm not mistaken again, alphabetical yan pag nagvo-vote ka na for impeachment. So, Aquino, of course, nangunguna siya. Now, ang decision ni Bam, for example, if anti-impeachment talaga siya, if he would vote no to the conviction of VP Sara, the kakampings would consider it as a betrayal to them. Kasi itong mga kakampings, they really want VP Sara out from office. They want her to be perpetually disqualified from holding a public position. So, yan yung gusto nila. Now, Bam is torn between two choices na. either to impeach VP Sara just to satisfy the affective filter of the kakamping nations, the kakamping cult, or vote against the impeachment of VP Sara to fulfill his alleged negotiation with the Iglesia ni Cristo. So, interesting, right? Pero ang point dyan is, I don't think really na matutuloy yung impeachment because 2025 na ngayon, tapos yung submission of evidence and everything, it would take more or less 2 to 3 months or minsan nga 6 months pa yan kasi i-review pa yan lahat before the trial talaga. Now, ang point ko is, ano na ngayon? June, July mag-start yung new Congress. July, August, September, October, November, December. 5 months. 2026, start of the 2028 elections na yan. That time, mag-group na yung mga tao, ay yung mga politiko, mag-a-alliance na yan sila. So, tulad ng Uniteam in 2022, for example, the Alyansa para sa Bagong Pilipinas, just recently. So, in 2026, magsa-start na yan. Tapos, yung yung politicians coming from the different camps, for example, the Kakampings, the DDS, ano pa ba? Yung mga political parties like the PFP, the Lakas CMD, PDP Laban. So, magno-nominate na naman yan sila for their candidates sa senators and sa vice president or president. Hindi na yan. So, mahihirapan na sila na igapang pa yung impeachment ni VP Sara because the trial would really take around maybe 3 to 6 months. So, they need a year to impeach VP Sara. Tapos ngayon, sa nakikita natin, maraming mga congressmen na nanalo na in-endorse ni VP Sara or tinulungan ni VP Sara. So, the possibility would be there will be a change sa speakership sa House of Representatives. And if that happens, if by majority ang mapipili is somehow aligned sa mga Dutertes, so for sure, may magpa-file talaga yan ng impeachment against BBM. Now, if may pa-file ng impeachment against BBM, of course, igagapang yan ng House of Representatives para maipasa nila sa Senate. Now, dalawang impeachment na ang kukunin ng Senate. VP Sara and BBM. And do you think that would be impossible? Ano ba? Magtra-trial na lang everyday yung mga senators natin, hindi na sila gagawa ng batas. So, it would be difficult on their part. Kaya ako, I'm very confident nga, kaya I'm so happy with the results sa election because it shows na we have the numbers, we have the support, we have the grassroots supporters, mga ganyan. So, klarong-klaro na hindi na ma-impeach si VP Sara. Yan. Out of topic, pero dahil very respectful ang mga Duterte sa libingan ng mga bayani kung si BBM President ni VP Inday, ipalibing ba niya kaya ito sa libingan ng bayani or itatapon sa West Philippine Sea? I don't know. I can't comment on that. Okay. Ano pa? Ang kapal naman ng mukha ng isang kakamping maka-assume na sa kanila galing lahat ang votes ni Bam, what the, hindi. Guys, if you're reading me if naka-follow kayo or nakasali kayo sa broadcast channel ko, doon ko sinisend yung link ng mga analysis ko. And this is how I see the votes ng mga kakampings. In 2016, around 14 million lang ata don't quote me on the figure. I'm just giving you an example. In 2016, if I'm not mistaken, Lenny only has 12 million votes against BBM. Parang ganyan, 12 for 14 million votes. In 2022, it did not grow. Like, hindi siya nag-increase. It did not increase. So, Lenny has 14 million votes in 2022 against BBM na 30 million, ganyan. So, meaning to say, guys, yung voters na nakuha ni Lenny in 2016 are the same voters who believe in her in 2022. That's 14 million voters. Now, in 2022 also, Risa Hontiveros received 15 million votes coming. So that's the kakamping support, okay? In 2022. Now, si Kiko din ata is 9 million in 2022. But now, walang representative ang walang other representative ang Liberal Party. And BAM, okay, take note, BAM is no longer part of the Liberal Party. Hindi na siya LP, hindi na siya yellow, kundi nasa koalisyon ng KNP, coalition, it's a coalition, it's a group ang ni-represent ni BAM, and siya ang naging chairman doon. Kaya very strategic si BAM. So, ang nangyari, si Kiko, same number, 9 million, so may increase ngayon. So, okay, given. kasi siya lang yung sa Liberal Party. So lahat ng mga voters ni Risa, mga supporters ni Lenny, kumampi kay Kiko, kaya nakakuha siya ng around 15 million this 2025 elections. Si Bam, okay, bigay natin na nasa 12 to 14 million siya, but because he is publicly endorsed by the INC, so yun, one of the reasons bakit nag-increase yung votes niya. Kaya umabot siya ng 20 million ngayon. So if we were to compare the vote counts of Lenny, Risa Hontiveros, and Bam has the number. So technically, kung gusto nilang may tatakbong president sa 2028, it would be Bam. That's why they are building the character of Bam, the image of Bam. They are trying to, there's an ongoing build up about Bam's achievements, about his backgrounds, educational background, professional background, legislative works, and all those things. Kasi nga, si Bam yung mas marketable compared to them. So, either it would be Bam and Risa, because si Lenny for sure, magsi-second term pa yan as mayor, because if Lenny will run against, for example, if VP Sara wala, talo talaga si Lenny. So, naghanap sila ng mas malakas pa kay Lenny and mas marketable, and that is Bam. And honestly, tama naman. Si Bam naman talaga ang medyo sa kanila. Ganyan. Second is this. Hindi na beat ng mga kakamping ang votes ni Bongo. In 2019, Bongo has around 20 million voters. Okay, yeah, 20 million. And now, it went up to 27 million. And that means, may nakuhang new voters si Bongo na 7 million. And 7 million is already a very, very big number. Okay? But the 27 million of Bongo falls short compared to the 32 million votes that VP Sara has gotten last 2022 elections. 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. So 5 million votes. Now guys, chances are either it would be Sara Bongo, Sabong, because yan yung nilakad ni PRRD before. So 27 plus 32, big number. 27 million kay Bongo, ang lamang ni VP 5 million. So either kukuha ng 5 million additional votes si Bongo, or mag-share siya ng votes kay VP if sila yung tatakbo. So we still have the number, guys. Don't worry. Ang i-worry na lang talaga natin ngayon is kung paano nila i-politicize ang impeachment case. Kasi ang impeachment, guys, it's a political exercise. Hindi yan katulad sa korte na mga judge talaga, mga lawyers, alam nila yung rules of evidence, alam nila yung batas and everything, how are the legal frameworks applicable to this case, ganyan. Hindi. Sa Senate kasi, hindi. Political exercise yan. Kung ayaw niya sa'yo, okay, i-vote kita, ma-impeach ka, perpetually disqualified from holding a public office. Now, ang mga senators, guys, they will not risk themselves demonizing the 32 million voters of VP Sara. Because nga guys, VP Sara is duly elected Vice President of the country. She has the highest or the biggest mandate so far that has ever happened in Philippine history. So siya pa lang yung nakakuha ng pinakamataas na votes. Wala pang record breaker yan si VP Sara. Now, if the senators who will act as judges during the impeachment, if they will vote yes to the conviction of VP Sara, then that means they are pushing away the 32 million the 32 million voters of VP Sara. And 32 million, guys, is the highest mandate ever happened in political history of the Philippines. So yan yung i-consider nila. Now, ang point ko dito, guys, is tayo na mga supporters ni VP Sara or yung mga naniniwala kay VP Sara, tayo talaga ang may say sa impeachment. So we should show the senators na without us, they won't be able to get a seat in 2028 too, because kakalabanin natin lahat sila. Okay? Ang sa impeachment din guys, even if it's a political exercise, ang mangyayari dyan, yung mga senators, nakikinig yan sila sa pulse ng mass. Kung ano yung pulso ng masa. Ano bang sinasabi ng masa ngayon? VP Sara is the most trusted and most approved national official. So kakalabanin nila yan. Kaya sa nakikita natin ngayon, sure vote na tayo to acquit VP Sara. We have Bato, we have Bongo, we also have Robin Padilla. So that's 3. And of course, for sure guys, believe it or not, Amy Marcos would say no to the impeachment. We have also Camille Villar. So we have 5 already. We have Mark Villar because he works under the administration of Tatay Digong as the Secretary of DPWH. So we have 6. So unsure pa tayo sa iba guys, pero itong 6 talaga, itong mga pangalan, remember these names guys, they will not vote yes to the impeachment of VP Sara. So we have 6 secured votes already for her acquittal. And she only needs 9. So 3 more. And alam na natin guys, we still have the Cayetano, di ba? Alan and Pia. They have always been supportive of the Dutertes. The Estrada even said na wala naman nangyari sa Pilipinas when they tried to impeach my father. So why are we doing that to the Vice President now? Yan yung sinabi niya eh, non-verbatim. So we have enough number sa Senate. Ngayon guys, dapat we should rally together to get more support from the House of Representatives. And what we should do is to continue expose the anomalies or the controversies that are currently happening in the House of Representatives so that the support that Romualdez is getting from his ilks in the HOR will be gone or will be weakened. Because pag ma-shoo na natin away Martin Romualdez as Speaker of the House of Representatives, tapos if makakuha tayo ng new speaker that is somehow aligned to the DDS, the DDS camp, it would be easier for us guys to file an impeachment case against BBM. Now, if by God's grace that path will be followed, so for sure guys, may nag-start na, inunahan na ng Duterte youth, meaning to say may mga willing talaga to file an impeachment case against BBM. And what's good about this impeachment guys is the fact na may evidence. The evidence, the pieces of evidence are clear, and the grounds for impeachment against BBM are not fabricated. These are blatant violations or culpable violations to the Constitution, which would constitute betrayal of public trust. Why? Number one example is them surrendering Tatay Digong to The Hague. And this is where the contributions of Amy Marcos are needed, because Amy Marcos is the current chairperson of the Committee on Foreign Relations sa Senate, and she is the one who investigated the conspiracy and the executions that have taken place when PRRD was brought to The Hague or was legally or unlawfully arrested by the ICC. Again, that's a classic example of that's a classic ground for impeaching a president guys, because it's a sovereignty issue na. So it's a culpable violation to the Constitution. So ganito din guys, kaya na-appreciate, kaya I promoted Amy recently. It's because guys, the laws and the constitutional provisions that she mentioned are really the basis for BBM to be kicked out from Malacanang. Marami from sugar importation, may na. And you remember one time when VP Sara had her press conference, di ba sinabi niya, I have 5 impeachable offenses on my hand that BBM has committed. It's just so happened guys na we don't have the numbers in the House of Representatives yet. That's why if we file that, if we, for example, ako as a citizen, if I'll stand by VP Sara to file that, tapos to get it endorsed by a certain lawmaker, it would be hard because I won't get the vote of our congressmen, of our representatives. Walang vote yan. Pero ngayon nga guys, nag-shuffle na yan ang sa House of Representatives. So there's a big chance for us to push through with BBM's impeachment. So 2 tracks, either BBM by delicadeza would resign from his position because wala naman talaga siyang ginagawa. He's not acting like the president. He's acting like, the utusan ng president, parang ganyan. And the second is impeachment talaga. Dapat mapaalis natin siya, matanggal natin siya. And now guys, it's very, very possible. Kaya nga, use your voice, huwag kayong matakot. Pag may nakita kayong mga anomalies, pag may nakita kayong mga controversies, magsalita kayo because that would help us out. If there is clamor coming from the people guys, from the Filipinos, makikita yan. Diba? Tapos pag makikita yan, na ganito pala talaga ang gusto ng Filipino masses, hindi niya matatapos yung termino niya. And it would be a very, very good point for us, mga Duterte supporters. Why? Because by line of succession, under the Constitution, guys, it would be the Vice President who will become the President if the President gets impeached. Yun. Problem is, it's okay for him to look stupid as long as nakinabang siya sa pera ng taong bayan. Who are you pertaining ba? Attorney Marcoleta, tama I forgot to mention him kanina. Okay. Mabilis kasi yung akyat ng mga comments, guys. Nawawala siya. Tapos isa pa, guys, if nagbabasa kayo ng mga balita, kanina, it's reported by the Politico na si Toby Chanco, guys, siya yung campaign manager ng Alyansa para sa Bagong Pilipinas. Si Toby Chanco is also like coming from the elite, from the elite family, from the elite background, parang ganyan. Tapos sinabi niya na one of the reasons why the admin slate fails to really allow their senatoriables to win, it's because the push of the impeachment case against VP Sara. Kasi nakikita nga nila na ang mga tao, the people are showing resistance sa impeachment case. So ayaw nila, parang ganyan. So because they are pushing it, so yung narrative ngayon, pumirma yan sa impeachment, magiging yan sa impeachment, kaya hindi namin iboto. And that's the reason why wala, guys, sa political party ni BBM ang nanalo. Tingnan nyo yung result. Partido Federal ng Pilipinas, Benhur Abalos, sino pa ba? Hindi nanalo, wala talaga. Sa Lakas CMD, merong isa na nakapasok. Erwin Tulfo, siya lang. Sino ang anong political party ang maraming nanalo, guys? Political party ni Manny Villar. The Nationalista Party. Camille, Pia Cayetano, and Amy Marcos. 3. 2 sa PDP, but since adopted si Marcoleta, 3. Sino ang may numero ngayon? Tayo. And yung 3, guys, sa political party ni Manny Villar, sa Nationalista Party, NP, ni Manny Villar, 2 are endorsed by VP Sara, Amy and Camille. That's why in my posts, guys, my recent posts, I've been telling you na we should really bank on those candidates that are very, very winnable because it would be very beneficial to us. Yeah. So kaya yan yun. And ano pa ba? Impeachment, Dilimas case. Ano ba? Ay, ito pa. Yung free tuition fee, yung tertiary quality access to tertiary education. Guys, in 2018 or 19, guys, na-debunk na yan. Ang hindi ko maintindihan, bakit hindi pa rin gets ng mga kakamping na it is not Bam Aquino who principally authored the free tuition fee. Ang nangyari kasi at that time, maraming authors na okay, disclaimer lang, don't quote me sa mga numbers ha. If I am not mistaken, there are 55 free tuition fee bills that are filed at that time in the House of Representatives ata. Pero ang nangyayari kasi dyan, guys, pag may mga similar na legislation na ginawa yung magko-consolidate yan sila. Kaya may mga House bill na ganito, House bill na ganyan, tapos magko-consolidate yan sila para yung lahat ng mga provisions under that certain legislation is maisa nilang lahat. Tapos if yan yung pagdidebatehan nila, first reading, second reading, and third reading, and after that they would send it to the Senate para ang Senate makagawa din sila ng kanilang version. So marami, I think 55 ata na bills at that time. So yun, nasa House of Representatives. But the very controversial, guys, is yung kay Bam Aquino. Ang nangyari kasi is, may nag-file din sa Senate at that time. Tapos, mas naunang nag-file si Ralph Recto sa free tuition fee sa tertiary education. Si Ralph Recto. But after that, guys, si Bam nag-file din siya. And at that time, si Bam ay ang chairperson ng Committee on Education, Arts, and Culture. Yan. So, ang nangyari, ginawa na lang siyang co-author sa free tuition fee, and it's Recto really who is the principal author of the free tuition fee. Ano ang role ni Bam? Since Bam is the chairperson of the Committee on Education, Arts, and Culture at that time, guys, siya yung dapat ang magde-debate, siya yung dapat ang magde-defend, parang ganyan, which he did. Kaya naging principal sponsor siya. May kaibahan kasi, guys, sa author and sponsor. Pag author, ikaw talaga yung gumawa ng groundwork, ikaw yung nag-check ng mga law na walang na-violate, tapos ikaw yung naghanap kung saan na funding, and everything ganyan. So yan yung sa author. Pag ikaw yung principal sponsor, ikaw yun guys, you champion the bill, ikaw yung makikipag-debate doon, ikaw yung magaganyan-ganyan. Tapos pag tumulong ka, of course, sa paggawa, so co-author. Pero pag tumulong ka sa pag-debate, pagpapaintindi sa plenary guys, na ganito yung batas na ginagawa namin, so co-sponsor ka. So si Bam, again ha, let me correct this, si Bam is not the principal author of the free tuition fee. BAM is just a principal sponsor. It was Recto who principally authored the bill or the law. Now, ano ba ang naging problem? Ang naging problem kasi guys, in 2019, tapos na ang usapan dyan. In 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022 is ang continuation na lang kung paano masusustain yung funding ng free tuition fee. Pero ngayon guys, lumabas naman yung mga kabobohan ng mga kakampings because they are saying that si BAM daw talaga ang may likha or ang nag-author talaga ng free tuition fee, which is not. Pero na-find out ko din guys, na one of the political advertisements pala of Bam Aquino is the free tuition fee. So yun, kaya pala bumalik yung conversation. Now, sa sinulat ko, sinabi ko talaga sa inyo yung facts kung ano yung nangyari, paano nagkaganyan, kasi totoo naman. May Marawi siege pa kasi in 2017, kung hindi ako nagkakamali ha, may Marawi siege tapos pumutok ata yung pinatubo ganyan. So maraming parang series of events na nangyari at that time. Tapos we are also recovering from the previous administration parang ganyan. Now, tinutulan ito ng mga ni Tatay Digong, ng mga economic managers sila Dominguez and sino pa yon? Kalimutan ko na yung name. Tinutulan nila ito because nga it will not be sustainable since we need to fund the free tuition fee 40 billion to 50 billion yearly. Ganyan. Tapos at that time guys, hesitant si Tatay Digong. Sabi niya, yeah, tama naman. Why are we parang funding rich kids na nakapag-aral sa mga state universities, mga ganyan? Ang gusto niya is targeted. So gusto niya na dapat pag may qualifications ka na ganito. For example ba, yung sa 4Ps na dapat ganyan, yan lang yung tutulungan. Pero ang nangyari guys, grabe yung negotiation, grabe yung parang mga back channeling na nangyayari. Ang tinatawagan ng mga authors and sponsors ng bill na yan guys is si Bongo. Ang sinasabi nila, SAP, paki-explain naman na ganito yung layunin, ipaintindi mo kay Tatay Digong, mga ganyan-ganyan. Of course, you're the special assistant of the president di ba? So, ang ginawa ni Bongo, sinabi niya lahat na ganito kasi yan, ganito, ganyan. Now, despite the objections of PRRD's economic managers, he signed August 3, sinign niya yung free tuition fee. Tapos, kasi 2 days na lang, wala na, mag-expire na yon August 5. So, August 3, sinign niya, guys. Now, sinabi nila, no, okay lang naman kahit hindi sinign ni Tatay Digong or ni Duterte, even if he did not sign that bill, it would lapse into law after 30 days. Tama nga naman. Tama sila. It would lapse into law. But the thing, guys, is, if it would lapse into law without the president doing anything about it, it would be hard to seek funding, guys. Why? Because it's the executive, guys, who will implement the projects and programs. It's the executive who will find a way kung saan kukunin yung mga budgets. Kaya nga may mga DBM, may mga sa ganyan-ganyan para makuha yung 40 billion yearly. Now, if Digong did not act on it, the bill would be useless. And alam nyo ba, there are below 100 unfunded laws that have lapsed into law na. Kasi nga, pag hindi napansin, hindi yan mahanapan ng funding, hindi yan mahanapan ng paraan kung paano yan i-implement. Again ha, even if the law lapse into law even if the bill lapse into law after 30 days, it's still the executive who will implement such. So the implementation matters in the executive. Kaya nga thankful tayo. Okay, now let's give credits where the credit is due, di ba? Yan yung mga kasabihan natin eh. Now of course, we should be thankful to the counterpart sa House of Representatives who made their version. And we also need to thank the Senate, the people behind the free tuition fee, and not only BAM, okay? We should also thank Duterte because he looked for ways on how to sustain the program or the law, the funding of the free tuition fee. Okay? Now, it's a collaborative effort, guys. It's not an effort of one person lang. Again, for how many years since Cory's time, there is no free tuition fee. Yan yung dapat yung intindihin. Why did it only happen during Digong's time? Because there is political will. There is, parang urge to look for ways in order to fund the free tuition for the state colleges and state universities. Yan yung dapat ninyong intindihin guys. So bakit nangyari kay Digong lang? So kaya nga, maging thankful tayo. We should thank Bam Aquino, but we should also thank Duterte and the rest of the people that help out para ma-pass into law and ma-sustain yung funding ng free tuition fee. And it's not right that you will only solely credit Bam Aquino on that because nagdi-debate lang naman siya. I know that that's his job and the president's job is to sign, to veto, or to what not. But the thing is, it's really a collaborative effort nga because it needs funding. Maghanap ka ng paraan paano mo yan i-fund. Imagine na, despite the objections of PRRD's economic managers, ginawa niya lahat yun. Okay? Now, ano ang kaibahan sa Malasakit Center? Ang Malasakit Center kasi guys, it's a pet project of the executive department, Digong's time, spearheaded by Bongo. Pet project lang yan, Malasakit Center, and it started in Vicente Soto Hospital in Cebu in February 2018. Parang ganyan yung date. Ganyan. So nag-start siya, tapos of course, it's a project nahanapan ng paraan, may funding from PhilHealth ata yun, DOH, parang DBM, ganyan, may funding, nakakuha sila ng funding for the Malasakit Center. Now guys, 2 days or 3 days after Bongo took his oath in office as a new elected senator guys, nanghanap siya ng paraan to institutionalize the Malasakit Center para guys, even if hindi na siya ang mananalo by next election, the project would continue. Why? Because it's already institutionalized. There is an enabling law to fund the Malasakit Centers, etc. Mas nauna si Bongo. Now, 2019 yan, July 2019, but the version guys of the House of Representatives came out September of 2019. So July ginawa ni Bongo ang kanya, September lumabas ang counterpart ng bill sa House of Representatives. And nang lumabas pa yun guys, ang ginawa pa nila, hindi, i-copy na lang natin yung bill ni Senator Bongo na ganito na lang, ganito, ganyan, i-consolidate na lang natin. So of course, bicameral committee, ganyan, hinanap nila, ganyan. Tapos nakita nga nila na yung version ng bill coming from the House of Representatives guys, parang they copied word for word yung bill na ginawa ni Bongo. Yes, yan yung nangyari. And at that time, since of course, Duterte time, di ba, halos lahat, ganyan naman yung mga politiko kung sino yung nakaupo sa siya, gagawin nilang Panginoon yan, ganyan. And since because Bongo is the special assistant to the president, and of course, Duterte is the president, so grabe yun, 18-0 ata yung voting. Tapos, in the House of Representatives, there's only one who opposed the said bill, and it's Edsel Lagman. So sinabi ko na din yan sa previous write-ups ko kung ano yung reason ni Edsel Lagman in opposing the bill. Pero again, of course, there's only one objection, and I think a few members abstained during the voting. So the bill has passed into law. So napasa siya into law. Kaya may mga Malasakit Centers. Now, bakit nabigay kay Bongo ang credit? Unlike kay Bam na dinidebate talaga siya, it's because ang Malasakit Center is technically a pet project of Bongo sa executive department even before he became a senator. And when he became a senator, he institutionalized that so that the funding would continue for the benefit of the Filipino people. Kaya sinasabi nila, Malasakit is Bongo talaga, associated siya kay Bongo. Unlike the free tuition fee na hindi mo solely ma-credit kay Bam Aquino, it's because nga hindi nga siya ang principal author. Principal sponsor lang siya. It was Recto and the rest of the people in the Senate na nag-co-author ng bill. So yan yon. So dapat i-close na natin ang debate na yan. Ang atin is, sige, may free tuition fee. Does it help to the Filipino students? Yes. 1.8 million of Filipinos are able to go to college because of the free tuition fee. 'Di ba? That's 1.8 million families. Yan. It's very helpful. So instead of debating who we should give the credit, why should we focus on its benefits and let's move forward, guys. Huwag na dyan. Ito din, they are trying to undermine the value of the Malasakit Center. I have read some posts coming from Kakampings. They are saying that they need to rebrand the Malasakit Center because most of the credits are, given to Bongo, parang ganyan. Why would you halt a certain program that is very beneficial sa mga mahihirap? And we are seeing a lot of comments and testimonies coming from real people online saying that they are very thankful with the Malasakit Center because na zero yung bill nila, may millions of hospital bill na natulungan sila, nabigyan sila ng ganyan. So why are we depriving Filipinos of that program? Why are you politicizing a certain program that has truly contributed to the lives and to the welfare of the Filipino people? Okay, let's give it to Bongo. It's a very good project of Bongo. Why can the Kakampings not accept that? Why can you not accept the fact that it was really Bongo who initiated such project? So sige, pagpalagay natin may anong tawag dyan? Identical project and program. We deserve to have many projects and programs for the Filipino people. Diba? Because if we only allow DSWD to do such project, it would be hard because DSWD cannot do that alone. Diba? Medical and burial assistance. One of the reasons why they reduce and cut the budget of the OVP, it's because the medical and burial assistance is a repetition of, or is a duplication of the programs that are already provided by the DSWD. But why are we seeing a lot of people lining up in the OVP satellite offices? It is because, guys, DSWD is not enough. DSWD does not even zero out the hospital bill or the burial expenses. Kaya nga, may mga tayo na program, complementary programs. Say for example, the medical and burial assistance of the OVP. Because this is for the Filipino people. These are taxes coming from the Filipino populace. So we deserve to have that. Why are you more focusing on the duplicated projects and programs? Kailangan naman talaga yan. Diba? Say for example, sa anong tawag dyan? Magnegosyo Taday. Yung Magnegosyo Taday, the OVP gives out capital to a certain group, LGBT, women, single parents, everything, para may mga tindahan sila, ganyan. Diba? And technically, this is a social welfare program. And this is supposed to be implemented by the DSWD. But why is the DSWD not implementing such program? Why are they more focused on giving out AIX, MAIP, ayuda to the Filipino people? So the OVP does not do that. What OVP does, guys, is they give out capital. They have literally they help out by doing some literacy and numeracy lessons, financial management lessons, para nga matulungan din yung mga hirap. Even if wala silang formal education, they can still continue with their business or maghahanap din sila ng source of income. So, ang ginawa nila, they cut and reduce the budget of the OVP because it's the duplication daw. Again, why are you depriving the Filipino people to get the service that they deserve coming from the government? Ito yung hindi ko din maintindihan because if the OVP is duplicating the programs of the DSWD, well, why are we seeing congressmen giving out AIX, ayuda? Diba? The task of the congressman is to legislate, to craft laws, to make bills, to write bills. Bakit natin sila nakikita? Why are we seeing congressmen who are giving out assistance? It's the task of the DSWD. So are you saying, using the same logic, you also have to reduce the budget of the congressmen? It's because they are duplicating the projects of the DSWD? That is so wrong, right? Kaya nga, VP Sara is getting the support of the masses because they felt na VP Sara is the only one na may touch of reality ba on the ground. Nakikita nyo ba si BBM pumupunta sa mga bundok, nagvi-visit, naghahag ng mga matatanda, pumupunta sa mga schools, nakikipag-usap sa mga teachers? Wala, because elitist yan siya eh. Elitista yan. Mayaman yan. Ayaw niya yung he doesn't wanna touch the grasses. Unlike VP Sara na nasa ground talaga siya. Almost every day, might travel, pumupunta sa mga far-flung places to understand the needs of the Filipino people. And that's what sets VP Sara apart from BBM. Yun. Yung kasama ko sa work, nagdialysis sa Santa Ana Hospital, nung nawala ng pondo ang PhilHealth, Malasakit Center sila lumapit. Kaya natuloy, mabilis kasing umakyat. Kaya natuloy yung, hindi ko na mabasa. My uncle was a cancer patient. 2 of my aunts were diabetic patients. Lahat yan umabot ng millions ang bill. Na zero budget because of Malasakit Center. Kaya solid talaga si Bongo. Kaya nga, ito yung sinasabi ko, we should not deprive Filipinos of their right to get the best service coming from the government. Dapat, kung ano yung projects, okay, ito good question from Mark Pirandos. Ma-proclaim ba si FPRRD kasi pinapakalit ng kabilang grupo? Yes, FPRRD is already proclaimed. So, ganito yun guys. It's not true. May lumalabas kasi ng mga infographic ngayon na since FPRRD is currently detained in The Hague, the second placer, Carlo Nograles, would assume the office. That is so wrong. There is no legal and constitutional basis on that argument. Ang sinasabi kasi ng batas, guys, if the president is, for example, ngayon sa status ni Digong, nasa The Hague siya eh. So technically, he cannot take an oath. And there is no jurisprudence pa, or there is no precedence, saying na pwede mag-live lang, mag-take ng oath, or pwede virtual taking of oath lang. Wala pang jurisprudence niyan. So wala pa tayong na law. Unless kung if i-allow yan ng Supreme Court, siguro ganyan, okay yan. Pero it would be a long legal battle pa. Yan. So basically, if Duterte cannot go home before he takes his oath as the mayor of Davao City, may vacancy na mangyayari. Now, in order to parang declare a certain office vacant, may mga basis na yan under the law, like incapacitated na, tapos impossible na siya sa office, death, resignation, etc. So that would take more or less, if I'm not mistaken 3 to 6 months, parang ganyan. So basically wala. However, if the would declare a permanent vacancy in the mayor's office, ang mafa-follow na batas dyan under the local government code is yung line of succession. It would be the mayor. So hindi pwede na ang second placer, or for example si Carlo Nograles yung magiging mayor, because hindi si Digong makaka-take ng oath, hindi siya makaka-assume sa office. Now, unless if Nograles can find a way to declare Tatay Digong as a nuisance candidate, because that would make his certificate of candidacy null and void from the very void ab initio, so parang void na siya from the very beginning. Ganyan. Pero how can they do that when in fact Duterte is the former president? How can he be declared as a nuisance candidate? That's legally impossible talaga. So hindi yan mangyayari. So ang mangyayari dyan, guys, it would still be Baste, because Baste is the vice mayor now. It would still be Baste who will act as the mayor, and eventually, if the COMELEC or DILG or even the court would declare permanent vacancy on the mayor's office, it would be Baste who will automatically become the mayor of Davao City. Now, under the law, ang yung line of succession, kung sino yung konsehal, guys, councilor of the city or sa lungsod na who got the highest vote counts, guys, sila yung susunod na vice mayor. And in Davao's case, it's Rigo Duterte. So again, it would be Mayor Baste Duterte, Vice Mayor Rigo Duterte. Now, ang kinakalaban na naman nila ngayon, ang sinasabi na naman lang issue, it's because of political dynasty. Wala kaming pakialam sa political dynasty if we have the Dutertes. Why? We are seeing results. Kayo siguro ayaw nyo sa political dynasty, it's because yung mga political dynasty nyo, mga inutil, walang ginagawa sa buhay nila, di ba? Walang nagawang mga projects. Pero pag sa mga Duterte, we're okay. We're completely doing okay here in Davao. Okay lang kami. Debt-free kami. Insurgency-free kami. We are one of the most livable, safest, and cleanest city in Southeast Asia. It's something that that the leaders in your places, guys, cannot do. Diba? Tapos guys, anti-dynasty, dapat i-push daw yung anti-dynasty bill. It is again impossible because halos lahat sa Congress, guys, sa HOR, sa House of Representatives, magkamag-anak lang yan. Tingnan nyo yung for example sa Luzon, Laguna ata, if I'm not mistaken Dan Fernandez tumakbo bilang governor, anak niya naman nasa Congress, parang ganyan. Sino pa? Vilma Santos, si Lucky Manzano, marami pa maraming example pa sa Congress dyan. So yun, ang masasabi ko lang is, political dynasty is bad if you got the wrong family. But if you have the right family to lead your city or to lead your place, it's really, really good because why? Number one, there is continuity. Hindi niya naman pwede na i-stop ko yung project na yan. Kasi ang nangyayari kasi, pag iba-iba yung namumuno, guys, i-stop yung project. That would be attributed to my opponent last election. Hindi ko yan i-continue kasi siya yung maalala na siya yung gumawa. Then when the next election comes, it would be easier for him or her to say na, hey, that's my project, your mayor did not do that, but for example, ako as a mayor, ako yung tumapos niyan Pero the credit is on that person because he or she initiated the project, he initiated the program, parang ganyan. So yan yung nangyayari. But now, if you have a very good political dynasty, guys, for example, for the Dutertes, so galing kay Tatay Digong, peace and order, minintain niya ni VP Sara. Now, because the foundation is already there, VP Sara, mas ginalingan niya pa. So, during VP Sara's time as mayor of Davao City became an insurgency-free city. Digong, hindi niya na kaya yan. Hindi niya na insurgency-free. Kasi, he set the foundation lang na ganito dapat, ganito. Tapos, ikaw, Inday, because ikaw na ang mayor, i-continue mo tong project na ito, galingan mo pa, mag-add ka pa ng other project, kaya naging insurgency-free. Now, during Inday's time, kasi magaling talaga si VP Inday, debt-free ang Davao, wala kaming utang, nabayaran lahat yon ganyan. And then, Mayor Baste became the mayor. Ano ginawa niya? He continued the legacy of his sister na debt-free ang Davao City. Naghanap siya ng paraan, investors, work, employment, ano pa, iba't ibang projects that can help out the city to maintain its status na debt-free. Kaya ngayon guys, okay kami. We have the best political dynasty, and I'm not saying this because I'm a blind follower or I'm a Duterte apologist or a diehard Duterte supporter. I'm saying this because we are seeing results, and the results are very tangible.
At yun na nga mga kababayan, ano na ang masasabi mo? Kung mayroon kayong hinaing at komento patungkol sa balitang ito, please comment down below. Pag-uusapan natin yan sa comment section.
Nay, ito na yung bayad ko sa isa, ano? O, kunin mo yung isa. Isa muna, iyan, no? Tapos, isa pa, di ba? 4 dapat na sardinas, eh. O, yan. 3 na. Pang-4 na sardinas. O, okay na.